All right. Good day, sports fans. Welcome to gamblersworld.net preview college edition, week 5 for college football action. I'm your host, Las Vegas Hilton World Champion Chip Chirimbes, and my special guest, as always, Paul Bovi, the man pounds the Las Vegas bookmakers each and every week. Last week, another huge winner. Paulie, welcome aboard. You had a free winner here, and I know in the service you were a winner 67% at gamblersworld.net. And Paul, I got a question for you this week. Big doings in Las Vegas. You know, they had a quarterback that came from Holy Cross, and his name was Matthew, what is it, Suka? Leads the UNLV undefeated, now ranked for the first time in 30 years. And he walks out on a team on Tuesday because they didn't honor his NIL agreement. What kind of problems do you think this is creating for UNLV, Paulie? And what about the NIL in general?
Well, from what I understand, the backup who's going to supplant him it actually looked great in spring
Yeah,
practice. So,
he's a senior.
uh, yeah, so he has experience. And look, the line adjusted, but I'm not going to get involved in the game.
Right.
I'm just not. But I think UNLV probably will be competitive. It might be an overreaction, which is often the case. But I'm just going to sit back and watch the game, enjoy it. It's not going to be one of my premium plays
Right.
nor even a play, but it's a huge board. We have a huge menu to pick from. But there's some games we're just going to sit back and take in, and this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, and the player reaction was surprising to me because after he left, the players that were left, UNLV had a team meeting, and their comments and their feeling about it was it's about time because this kid's a 50-year senior. His Malik Williams, his name is, and they think he can play. So, how much has the line been adjusted, Paul? Because I know there were 3.5 points, and now what is it now? Do you know?
Chip, I'm not sure. I think there
Okay.
was like a 3 to 4 point adjustment at last check, but I'm not sure where it's settled
Yeah,
in right now.
this is a hairy game to get involved in. I was just wondering how it's going to affect the landscape of the NCAA if players start leaving in the middle of the season because they didn't get paid or there's some kind of issue. And his father was involved with this along with his agent. So I think they got together. He's got one more year of eligibility if he claims red shirt now. Holy Cross for 4 years. Not a bad school, but he went to a Catholic school as a Crusader, and he's against the rebels. So I was wondering who was right and who was wrong, and who did the right thing. I really couldn't tell you right now, but I'm really
Funny
wondering what's
thing
going to happen.
is, funny thing is, I remember wagering back in the day on these Holy Cross games, and
Right.
all of a sudden I mean, this goes back a ways, but they disappeared from the board, and they haven't been a line school, but.
No.
Anyway, that's not really relevant to the conversation, but it just
Yeah. Well,
triggered a memory way
other
back
than
when.
they other than they had a Heisman Trophy candidate a number of years ago, the only thing I really remember about them was Bob Cousy went there, and that was a long time ago. Most people don't even know that he was a professional basketball player, and you know, so this I see a plethora of games out there on Saturday. Personally, coming off a game of the year in September, I had such a strong feeling about Michigan defeating USC. If you look statistically, you couldn't believe that the Wolverines actually won the game, but they got the phone call, and when they heard the phone call that Chip Chirimbes was on them, they had to make a come from behind victory, Paul, and I was really happy about that. But my free game here this week, Minnesota goes to Michigan, and I think there's something drastically missing with this Michigan team, which had less than 50 yards rushing once again, and though they've lost 10 of 11 or 11 of 12, I think it is to Michigan. Minnesota has a running game, I think, that they can put together, and that they're going into the teeth of the strongest part of the Wolverines. But I just think they're going to have a little letdown after coming up big for my game of the year. I don't know how they can emotionally get ready again, Paul. So I'm going to play Minnesota plus 10 right now, may go up even higher against Michigan. That's my free play here. And of course, I have another big winner on Saturday, so anyone could log on, follow the buy links, and just go to gamblersworld.net. And don't forget, to push the like button right here and subscribe to our college edition. Paul and I will be doing this every week. We'll give you analysis and games and how we feel intuitively about what's going on out there. And it's not all so cut and dry statistical numbers back and forth. There's a lot more that goes into this. Paulie, is there anything special out there you like on Saturday?
All right, so I'm going to give you a free game. Last week we cashed on this free game with Florida and Mississippi State over. It actually started pretty slow. I was nervous. They didn't really put any offense up for the first 6, 7 minutes of the game, but then they just ratcheted it up, and I think it easily skied the number, which was 57. I think it ended 70, so we cashed that one. And we're going to dish out another free play right here with New Mexico over New Mexico State. Now, they have a common opponent in there, and the common opponent was Fresno State. New Mexico played them to a 38-21 final, New Mexico being on the short end, but they put up almost 500 yards of offense versus Fresno State, quarterback Mikey Keene. And then you look at New Mexico State. New Mexico State was shut out by Fresno State, 48-0. It was 31-0 at halftime. New Mexico State had all of 74 yards of total offense in the first half, ended the game with 140 yards of total offense. The running game for Fresno State, they racked up 280 yards. This should be a cakewalk for New Mexico. And normally in these in-state rivalries, there's no letdown. Because it's important for recruiting, and it's just rivalries. There's bad blood there. So I think New Mexico wins handily. The Lobos will. Much better offense, comparable defense, to say the least. And they're going to win comfortably. So lay the 9. I laid 7, but I think anything under 10 is solid.
And, New Mexico's been on the rise. They've really had a coaching change here a couple of years ago and have looked better, whereas the Aggies, they just look like they're in trouble each and every season. They just don't seem to be able to, maybe because it's a state school, Paul, and they just can't get the recruiting done there. I'm not quite sure. But remember, everyone, this is the college edition, so you have to push a like button and get a subscribe button. You'll be able to get Paul and I's analysis on a weekly basis coming right to you. And Paul, any other final comments before we close on this college edition, week 5?
No, I'm going to probably have 3 plays or 3, 4, or 5 plays this week. And the great thing about college football is there's such a huge board to pick from that the bookmakers sometimes put up soft numbers, and that's what you got to look for, especially on the openers. But sometimes they don't adjust enough, to put it the best way. Right. The numbers are flat, and you have to look for opportunity. And when you have 30, 40, 50 games on the board, you have that opportunity. So we'll probably have 3, 4, 5 games, and hopefully hit the majority of them like we did last week, and produce some winners for you.
Yeah, I think there's a plethora of selections out there that I'm really gravitating for. I'm having a little bit of difficulty narrowing down other than my top 2. And big game releases right now, and colleges are undefeated, had the game of the year. So we'll be ready to go Saturday, that's for sure, Paulie. And there's a lot of interesting things out there. There really is. And, I'm not the type of guy, maybe you are because you're a little more analytical and you know more than I do about the injuries and the personnel. Got a friend of ours who passed on recently, Dave Koken. Dave would always come to me and he'd be playing teams like Prairie View and games where we'd have Holy Cross, where we'd have trouble finding a number on the game. But his analysis of it, because he evaluated the personnel, I am more of a guy that's looking for that national game where there's a lot of action on and the entire country has their eyes on it. And that's the kind of game that I gravitate toward. Big games, big money, big winners. So, Paul Bovi, Chip Chirimbes, coming to you week 5. Gamblersworld.net. Log on, follow the buy links, become a big-time winner.